What would you do if the truth you fought for was buried under lies? Rain fell in relentless sheets over Oakwood Cemetery, where grief hung as heavy as the storm clouds. Lieutenant Aisha Brooks, a Black Navy veteran, stood in her dress blues, her chest adorned with medals earned through sacrifice. She had come to bury her mentor, Captain Marcus Tate, a man who'd taught her to fight for justice. But as she stood by his coffin, a police officer's cold voice cut through the somber air. "Aisha Brooks, you're under arrest." The mourners gasped, their faces twisting in shock as handcuffs clicked around her wrists. She hadn't committed a crime. So why were they taking her? Aisha's heart pounded as Officer Daniel Hargrove, a man with a sharp jaw and sharper eyes, led her away. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, some shouting in protest, others frozen in disbelief. Marcus had been more than a mentor. He was a whistleblower, exposing corruption within the city's elite. His death, ruled a heart attack, felt too convenient to Aisha. She'd been digging into his files, uncovering encrypted emails hinting at a conspiracy involving the police, local government, and a powerful corporation. Was this arrest their way of silencing her? The precinct was a maze of fluorescent lights and hostile stares. Aisha sat in an interrogation room, her uniform a stark contrast to the gray walls. Hargrove leaned across the table, his voice low and menacing. "You're poking into things you don't understand, Lieutenant. Drop it, or you'll regret it." But Aisha's resolve only hardened. She'd faced worse in war zones. She wasn't about to back down now. "You're scared," she said, her voice steady. "Scared of what Marcus knew. Scared of what I'll find." Released on bail, Aisha returned to her small apartment, where Marcus's files awaited. She pored over them, her eyes burning from lack of sleep. The documents pointed to a scheme. The city's police department was colluding with Apex Industries, a defense contractor, to falsify evidence and secure contracts. Marcus had been gathering proof, but someone had stopped him. Aisha's stomach churned as she found a name. Councilman Robert Vance, a man with a pristine public image and a penchant for power. His signature was on every shady deal. Aisha knew she couldn't trust the system. She reached out to Jamal Carter, a journalist with a reputation for exposing corruption. Together, they tracked down a whistleblower within Apex, a nervous accountant named Sarah Kim. In a dimly lit diner, Sarah slid a USB drive across the table. "This has everything," she whispered. "Financial records, emails, even recordings. But they're watching me." Aisha's pulse raced. This was the key to unraveling the conspiracy, but it came with a target on her back. The next day, Aisha and Jamal met at a community center to plan their next move. As they spoke, tires screeched outside. Two unmarked SUVs pulled up, and men in tactical gear stormed in. Aisha grabbed Jamal, pulling him toward the back exit, but gunfire erupted. They dove behind a table, her military training kicking in. "Stay down," she hissed. The attackers weren't cops, they were hired muscle, sent to erase the evidence and anyone who knew it. Aisha's mind flashed to Marcus. This was how they'd silenced him. Using her combat skills, Aisha disarmed one attacker, securing his weapon. She and Jamal escaped through a window, the USB drive clutched tightly in her hand. They went underground, hiding in a safe house provided by a sympathetic veteran. There, they decrypted the files. The truth was worse than Aisha imagined. Vance and Apex had orchestrated a campaign to discredit minority communities, framing them for crimes to justify excessive policing and secure funding. Marcus had been killed to keep it quiet. Aisha's anger burned, but so did her hope. She and Jamal leaked the evidence to every major news outlet. The story exploded, headlines screamed of corruption, and protests erupted nationwide. Vance was arrested, and Apex's contracts were frozen. But the victory felt hollow. At Marcus's grave, Aisha knelt, rain soaking her uniform. "We did it," she whispered. "But it cost too much." She thought of the families torn apart, the trust shattered. Yet she stood taller, knowing she'd fought for more than herself. The nation reeled, forced to confront its flaws. Aisha became a symbol of resistance, her story a call to action. She wasn't just a veteran. She was a warrior for truth, proving that even in the darkest moments, one voice could spark change. The rain stopped, and a faint rainbow broke through the clouds, a reminder that justice, though hard won, was worth the fight. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.